The iron chains bit into Elara's wrists, a cold counterpoint to the heat radiating from her skin. Sun-kissed, her lean muscles rippled with each strained breath, a testament to the miles she'd run before capture. Sweat beaded on her brow, tracing the contours of her high cheekbones, then snaked down her neck, disappearing into the valley between her breasts. Each rise and fall of her chest stretched the thin fabric of her tunic, revealing glimpses of taut skin and the shadow of her navel. Her legs, toned from countless hunts, were bare, save for the leather wrappings that crisscrossed her calves, ending in worn boots that had seen better days. Her dark hair, usually braided, now hung loose, a wild mane framing her face as she glared at the armored figures surrounding her. A hush fell over the Solaris soldiers as she was dragged into the Emperor's throne room. Their eyes raked over her, lingering on the curve of her hip, the length of her legs, the defiance blazing in her eyes. She was a prize, a wild thing to be tamed, a challenge to be conquered. A low growl rumbled in her throat as she was forced to her knees before the Emperor. She raised her chin, refusing to bow, her gaze locking with his. He was a study in contrasts, golden hair and pale skin against her darkness, a finely tailored tunic instead of her worn leather, a crown where she wore a simple band. But beneath the finery, she sensed a primal energy, a hunger that mirrored her own. A spark ignited between them, a silent promise of a battle to come, a dance of power and passion, a clash of wills that would set their worlds ablaze. The throne room's opulent air thickened with tension. Every breath Elara drew felt like a stolen victory, a defiance against the gilded cage she found herself in. She lifted her chin, refusing to cower beneath Kael's scrutinizing gaze. It was a gaze that raked over her like a physical touch, lingering on the curve of her hip, the swell of her breast, the proud arch of her neck. He rose from his throne, each step a measured predator's prowl. His hand, surprisingly gentle, cupped her chin, tilting her face up to his. Their eyes locked, hers blazing with defiance, his smouldering with a hunger that mirrored her own. A spark ignited between them, an unspoken challenge that hung heavy in the air. His fingers traced the line of her jaw, then dipped lower, following the delicate curve of her collarbone. A shiver racked her body, not from fear, but from a primal awareness of his touch, of the power radiating from his fingertips. He leaned closer, his breath ghosting over her skin. "Such fire," he murmured, his voice a low caress. "Such untamed spirit." His thumb brushed her lower lip, causing a gasp to escape her throat. He smiled, a slow, predatory curl of his lips, before leaning in and claiming her mouth with a kiss that was both demanding and tender. The chains rattled as she surged against him, her hands finding purchase in his hair. The kiss deepened, a swirling vortex of heat and desire, of stolen breaths and whispered promises. Their bodies pressed together, a symphony of contrasting textures, his smooth skin against her roughened hands, his soft tunic against her hardened muscles. He pulled back, their eyes meeting in a silent conversation of longing and challenge. His gaze swept over her once more, a silent promise etched in the depths of his eyes. A promise of battles to be fought, of passions to be explored, of a dance of power and surrender that would leave them both breathless.